Well, I think we have reached the time to close this dialogue, and I will give, as usual, I try to give a few personal comments. In fact, my final comments are fully inspired by what you said during the 2 days. And I cannot refrain myself to come back to the session yesterday with the high school students. You remember that yesterday, when I closed the first day, I said we can summarize what the students passed, the message passed by the students to Prime Minister Abe with 3 words. Co-expertise, solidarity, radiation protection culture, solidarity, and memory. So, I will start with solidarity. Measurements is a way to recover freedom, individual freedom. I think that was a strong message from the dialogue. But there was also another important message. Measurements, to do measurement is a way for communities to recover or even improve solidarity. That was a strong message. There is an individual dimension about recovering, about freedom, but there is also a dimension of recovering the quality of living together, the quality of solidarity between communities. This is a very important dimension, and I think it is worthwhile to underline this. Then I will turn to radiation protection culture. It has been said that measurements bring people together. Doing measurements automatically leads you to share information, to discuss data. And this is done when we say sharing information together. It means, of course, the people who are the first concerned, but also authorities, local authorities, national authorities, experts, all those who are involved in the process. And this is what, in our jargon, we call sometimes the co-expertise. And this co-expertise is very important for improving the situation. This ongoing dialogue between all the key actors of the society. And it was said also that measurement is a way to develop the radiation protection culture, is to develop how to behave wisely on a day-to-day basis, to gain this skill which allow you to make your daily decision, what about to eat, where to go this weekend for in the forest. So this is, in my view, very important. When I'm speaking about radiation protection culture, I think that we have to keep in mind that why, to ask this question, why do we need to develop this radiation protection culture? After more than a century of existence, of discovery of X-rays and radioactivity. This is a question that I've asked myself many times. Why we have been, I would say, obliged or forced, or we have been to go through this process in Chernobyl of working with the population and trying to understand the situation together and trying to find ways to improve the situation day by day. Why? X-rays and radioactivity have been discovered at the turn of the 20th century. So it's more than a century that X-rays and radioactivity is existing, has been discovered. And if you think, until the Second World War, I have the feeling that X-rays and radioactivity were part of life. I mean, of course, there were problems, but people were trying to develop also ways to fix the problems. They discovered radiation protection and X-rays and radioactivity, where you could find them in. There were songs about radioactivity. There is a famous song in French about X-rays. There were novels. People were talking about that. Not in a way about risk, but about the meaning for people of having discovered this strange phenomenon. I think about the novel of Thomas Mann, The Magic Mountain. There are several pages about X-rays, very beautiful things. Well, I don't want to expand on that, but my feeling is that all this was confiscated after the Second World War. And the turning point was, of course, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. From that time, there was a lead cover put on all this. And it was several decades with the lead cover. And I have the feeling that Chernobyl was the first time since the end of the Second World War when the cover was a little bit opened. And there were voices, and there were discussions, and there were a lot of things going around. And now I think that with Fukushima, the cover is gone. Now you can stop people talking and think about what the high school students said yesterday. They are developing the radiation protection culture. They are, with a brand new way of thinking about the situation, they learn what it means, what is X-ray, what is radioactivity, and they learn about radiation protection, and they want to discover the world, and they have an open-minded way, and they are, I think we have to follow their example. So I don't want to expand too further on that. The last word is memory. Measurements are excused to speak, someone said that. Measurements are excused to speak about emotions and feelings about the accident. I think this is a very, very important point. Of course, saying that, we all think about Mrs. Watanabe's speech yesterday. When she was speaking, I was thinking, what a courage to come in front of 100 people that she doesn't know and speaking about all the difficult emotions and feelings she went through during these years. And she was courageous enough to say that. It was difficult, we have seen. It was very difficult for her. And at that time, I was thinking about some remarks of Kenzaburo Oe, your famous novelist, who is speaking in his book, Hiroshima's Note, that I read at the time when I was starting to work in the contaminated areas in Chernobyl. And I discovered all these pages written by Oe about the dignity of the Hibakusha. The dignity of the Hibakusha to speak loudly and to say what they had to say about what happened and how they see the future. And it's coincidentally, it was a very strange coincidence, but coming here last Tuesday in the plane, I opened the daily newspaper, and in this daily newspaper there was an interview of Kenzaburo Oe, because the reason is because Kenzaburo Oe was invited in France to some sort of conference about novels and with other writers. And of course, journalists took the opportunity to interview this famous person. And I read, of course, the article. And it's not a coincidence. Kenzaburo was talking about dignity in this article. And the final sentence of the article, Mr. Owe says, "It is in the jump to recover from a personal or a collective catastrophe in which a part of human dignity is found." I mean, it fits perfectly well with what we discussed during these 2 days. Well, I would like to thank all of you for this very, very inspiring dialogue. I'd like to thank Professor Niwa, Otsura Niwa, my friend Niwa, Otsura. He prepared a great program. And of course, he got some help from some of you, but it was really a very, very well-shaped program. I'd like to thank Yunichiro, Dada, the co-chair, Thierry, Jean-François, Ted, for their hard work during the 2 days. They are very discreet, but they take notes and they... Of course, I'd like to thank Mrs. Yorano and Mrs. Michida for their tremendous work. It's very rare. They have been with us since the first dialogue. So already 11 times they have been supporting us. And without their support, it would be a total failure, because there would be it would be a hard time for us to understand what's going on. Of course, I would like also to thank all those who have supported the organization of the dialogue. I mean, this was a very nice place, and the people from that place have been very, very helpful. I'd like also to support the organizations, Efforts in Fukushima, Radiation Safety Forum, the Fukushima Medical University, Date City, you know, they are also very faithful organizations helping us to organize the dialogues, and also the institution, the Institute of Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety in France, the National Norwegian Radiation Protection Board in Norway, the French nuclear safety authorities, and also, of course, the Nippon Foundation, which join these other organizations to support the dialogue. And I'd like to thank all the speakers, all the panelists, and all the observers. It was a great dialogue, and I hope that we will meet again within a few months for the 12th dialogue. It will be the 12th and 13th of September in the Silk Hall in Date City. Thank you to all of you. Have a safe trip back home. Thank you.